Last week, I made a video featuring 10 affordable watches that even snobs don't hate. But it got me thinking, surely there's some watch brands that it doesn't matter which watch you get from their catalogue, because their whole range of watches is respected and ultimately snob-proof. So in this video, I'll take you through 10 relatively affordable watch brands that even snobs don't hate. So it doesn't really matter which watch you decide to buy from the brand, their brand name holds that much respect and heritage that you can't really go wrong. Okay, let's kick off today's video with a British military watch brand that is dripping in history. The Cabot Watch Company, also known as CWC, is a British watchmaker founded in 1972. The founder of the brand, Ray Mellor, worked during World War II transporting troops around Britain. After the war, he found a job, setting up retail distribution across the UK for then American but now Swiss brand Hamilton. He earned his way up to become the managing director of Hamilton UK, controlling a network of retail shops and developing connections to supply for the Ministry of Defence. Due to the quartz crisis in the 70s, Hamilton shut down their UK operations, leaving Ray out of work. But Ray kept in touch with the Ministry of Defence and convinced them to allow him to create watches for them under his new watch brand. CWC was born. Cabot Watch Company then supplied watches to the British military for over 40 years. CWC still produces the watches that were worn on the battlefields and war zones to this day, with them still being made to military specification. When talking about military watch brands, CWC is without question near the top of the list, and also without question a watch brand that snobs can't hate. Okay, next up, let's take a look at a micro brand that's been around for 10 years, and has created so many models that are widely loved by enthusiasts. One of the first micro brands that really had a finger on the pulse of what enthusiasts wanted was Zelos. They've been making some fabulous watches for a number of years now, and Zelos were one of the first micro brands that started experimenting with different case materials. Zelos has a very particular design language, often releasing watches that are extremely bold and angular. With a lot of watch brands opting for vintage inspired designs, Zelos do the opposite, and clearly look to the future, creating contemporary watches with modern materials. It's fair to say that you'll see some weird and wacky designs amongst the Zelos catalogue, some of which are unquestionably an acquired taste, but it's fair to say that Zelos is a watch brand that does everything right, making mechanical wristwatches with enthusiasts in mind, always opting to choose the hard path to deliver something different. Therefore, Zelos is a brand that demands respect amongst snobs. There is no place to hate a brand that is cutting edge and trying to bring the world of affordable watches forward rather than backwards. Now, this next watch brand is actually very hard to get hold of, and that's because their watches are so bloody good. If you fancy a trip down flamboyancy lane, then Studio Underdog should be on your map. Studio Underdog is a British watch brand that started in 2020. The founder Richard found himself with heaps of free time during the COVID lockdowns of 2020. As we all did during this period, we explored passions and interests. Richard did the same, designing a range of watches for fun, with no plan to actually turn it into a business. He presented the concepts to fellow enthusiasts in some Facebook groups, receiving overwhelming positive feedback, which gave him the confidence to approach creating these concepts and bring them to life. Studio Underdog watches are incredibly playful, with bright colours and eye-catching details. Since launch, Studio Underdog watches sell out almost immediately, with all of them selling over RRP on the secondary market. So if you do manage to get one for retail, you've instantly made profit. But these aren't watches for scalpers or investment collectors. These are watches made for enthusiasts, featuring the Seagull ST19 mechanical movement. So if you can get your hands on one of these watches, they are highly respected and sought after, even by watch snobs. Let's go back to another military watch brand for this next pick. And just like CWC earlier, this brand has a very rich history. Marathon's roots can be traced all the way back to the Second World War, where they were supplying watches to the Allied forces. Today though, Marathon produces watches that are built to conform to the United States military standards, and Marathon is the sole supplier of wristwatches to the United States Armed Forces. However, Marathon also offers a retail experience to the general public, allowing customers to buy the exact same watches that are sent out to the battlefields. Marathon watches are actually designed in Canada, but the production is outsourced to Switzerland, which is confirmed by the Swiss-made stamp at the bottom of the dial. Marathon watches are slightly more modern than the CWC catalogue we talked about earlier, with more contemporary design elements and more enthusiast-pleasing amazing specifications. Marathon is one of the only affordable watch brands that offers a tritium tube experience. This is where tiny tubes of tritium gas populate the hour markers, which glow for years without the need of a charge like typical lume. Marathon is a watch brand that is highly respected because of their great importance to horology, and a brand that snobs dare to hate. Okay, if you fancy a brand that's a little bit under the radar and offers watches that suit any budget, then this next one might be the one for you. This is Veer, a watch brand founded in the United States in 2016. This one is definitely for you patriotic Americans. Veer is the largest independent watch assembler in the United States, and they strive to produce as much of the watch as possible in the United States in an attempt to bring back the sleeping watchmaking powerhouse. The founder set out to create a watch that he could wear to go surfing with in the morning, but then dressy enough to be able to be taken into the office afterwards, meaning that every watch from the Veer catalogue features at least 100 meters of water resistance, making them the perfect everyday piece. The biggest thing I respect about this brand is their availability. They offer watches from under $200 all the way up to $1,000, meaning that no matter your budget, you can get into this brand regardless of your income. And because of their focus on bringing watchmaking back to the United States, this is a watch brand that demands respect. Okay, next up we have one of the most popular micro brands in the world at the moment, and this is definitely a watch brand that snobs absolutely love. Of course, the brand I'm talking about is Baltic. This is a micro brand from France that was founded in 2017. Baltic were right at the forefront of the vintage inspired trend, releasing watches with faux patina, smaller case sizes and old school design cues. They are probably best known for their MR01 model, which features a stunning micro rotor movement, but the watch itself is based on an old Patek Philippe reference. However, it isn't a direct copy, more of a true homage to the Patek. The same can be said for their other watches too, featuring design elements from iconic vintage watches. Baltic has somewhat taken over the enthusiast world, with almost every serious collector knowing at least one model that they produce. I personally feel that maybe the hype has become a bit too much now and the brand is becoming overrated, but their watches are beautiful for sure, and these watches are definitely loved by watch snobs, because I see them in their watch collections all the time. Okay, next up on today's video we have one of the most unique watch brands, and the inspiration behind the designs of these watches is certainly interesting. Brew Watch Company is a micro brand from New York City in the United States, and this brand follows a very unique design philosophy unlike any other brand you'll find. The design idea started in a coffee shop in New Jersey, where the founder noticed the baristas using a simple kitchen timer to help time each shot of coffee. He thought that there not only had to be an easier way, but a more fun way to carry out the task. That's where the idea behind Brew began. The Brew chronograph lineup has a scale to time the perfect shot of coffee. The idea is to use the chronograph instead of the simple kitchen timer, and because of the location of the inspiration, a youthful coffee shop in one of the busiest cities in the world, the watches are youthful in aesthetics, with a brave use of colours and asymmetrical layouts. This quirky take on the chronograph function is incredibly unique, ditching the traditional tachymeter scale and opting for something more playful and modern. Brew creates watches that, because of the unique design, are respected even amongst high-end watch snobs. Now, I tried not to mention these super obvious brands in this video and go with the lesser known ones instead, but I couldn't possibly make a video about respected watch brands without featuring this one next. You really can't go wrong with a G-Shock. Almost every single collector in the world appreciates what these watches can do, regardless of collection price or size. G-Shocks offer something that not many watches can, a bulletproof outer shell that is designed to be treated like a tank. Take it into the mud, dive in the ocean, hell, throw it off a bridge if you want to. They will more often than not live to tell the tale. And with the G-Shock range expanding every month, there will be a G-Shock model that will suit your style. Even if you have a small wrist like me, there's plenty of models that will work. I've been heavily looking at picking up the GMS 5600. This is a smaller G-Shock model that comes with a stainless steel shell, but the best part of this model is the size, with a 44mm lug-to-lug and a 39mm case diameter. But you really can't go wrong with any G-Shock model. Almost every single one of them is highly respected because of their incredible shock resistance and durability. We're going to take a little bit of a step up in price for these last two picks, but both brands create incredible watches throughout their whole catalogue. Doxa is a brand that is insanely popular amongst aficionados. It takes a real enthusiast to appreciate the history and importance renaissance of Doxa watches. This is a watch brand that started in Switzerland in 1889. Yes, that's over 130 years ago. Doxa primarily focused on creating a proper dive watch, designed from the ground up to be the ultimate diving tool, and the bezel of the sub 300 looks like nothing else you could find around at the time, with a decompression scale to help divers return safely. Doxa is probably best known for their orange dials, which were designed to be more legible in the depths of the ocean. Doxa fell on hard times during the quartz crisis, like almost every other Swiss brand, and unfortunately fell under. Thankfully, a successful relaunch brought back the legend that is Doxa, rebirthing their iconic watches, sticking to those original ideas that made them so good. So because of Doxa's importance to the dive watch industry, this is a watch brand that demands respect even from the snobbiest of enthusiasts. Okay, here we are, the final brand on today's list, and this one is the most prestigious of all the brands we featured today. I really don't think you can go wrong with a Longines watch. This brand was founded all the way back in 1832, which is before Rolex, Omega, and even Patek Philippe. Longines is just a super classy watch brand. They don't seem to follow trends or try to be the coolest kid in town. They quietly go about their business releasing watches for people to enjoy. They've had somewhat of a resurgence over the past few years, especially with the Spirit model, which is just absolutely stunning. Now, Longines is the most expensive brand on today's list, with their flagship models in the thousands, but even their entry-level Conquest models that cost under $1,000 offer a hell of a lot. Longines nail the finishing, design, and details so well, and of course you get that huge brand recognition with every model. Longines have countless amazing models, so you really can't go wrong with any of them. They really don't make a bad watch, and because of the sheer length that this brand has been operating, and the quality and importance over the decades, this is a brand that is massively respected even by the snobbiest of snobs. Head over to toptierticker.com to check out some cool, affordable pre-owned watches. The link is in the description. And if you liked this video and want some more Top Tier Ticker, why don't you watch my video here where I reveal my full entire watch collection.